You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with your nickname's Mugzy, but how do you pronounce your real name?
My real name, man, is pronounced Reyne, like the weather. Yeah, my parents just wanted something unique, man. But I don't know. That just didn't really fly with me, man. Mostly when I go out, people just know me for Mugzy from my career, my music career, or I just say Ray. But man, I appreciate you having me on the show and stuff. And
No
hopefully
problem.
we could just have a cool conversation, man.
Well,
Like
tell me a
keep
little
it.
bit about your what you do professionally.
Yeah, so man, I do hip hop music. I've been doing it for, man, I'm 28. I started when I was 14. Started just, dropping down rhymes and stuff. And around that time, my adolescence, man, I was really fighting through, I guess you can say, inner demons like mental health.
What
You
types of
know,
mental health issues?
man, just, depression, anger,
The basic stuff, yeah.
rolling with the wrong crowds, man. And I sort of just used like the culture of hip hop, man, as a platform just to really kind of express that. And I mean, around the time of the early thousands, man, when when 8 Mile dropped, every white boy from the suburbs wanted to be a rapper, man. But I didn't really follow down that. I
That
guess you can.
movie, dude, that movie inspired me to want to write raps and be like Eminem. Like I felt like I had to move to a trailer park to experience the real shit. Like only because
Yeah.
it seems like where a lot of artists, no matter what genre of music you're playing, have really a focus on going through some shit. And when I mean that, I mean it's the amount of emotion they can evoke through their vocals, whether it's rapping, whether it's creating reggae music. It's about giving people either relatable, something they can relate to when they listen to it, or just being able to relax and escape from whatever pain they're suffering from.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, I always say the 90s and the early thousands era of hip hop was so, um, like, it was just such a pinnacle of its time. Like, I mean, you had dudes like Eminem, Nas, Wu-Tang Clan. I could go down the whole list, DMX, man, and just something about their aura as an artist or their, wordplay or just the way they looked, man. It was this real kind of um, aggressive, against the system vibe, like whatever circumstance the world was pushing with them or pushing at them, they knew how to flip the script with this culture of hip hop and like set free in life. If that makes sense, man.
I
But
think
yeah.
like
Mhm.
when you look at rap music, it really gets a bad rep, especially with just I guess the way that they express themselves, considering that back in the day everybody was more like crazy like tie-dyed or whatever, crazy dyed hair, type of rocker style. Like that was the mainstream. And then you saw this rap platform kind of become part of culture. And it was mainly adopted by black urban culture. But that's not
Mm.
it, though. There's no extent to who listens to rap, who can feel something from rap. We've all seen that proven with Eminem. But you know, out of that being the only white rapper I can really name, we're still seeing, artists today, Post Malone, other people that are creating new forms of it. But back in the day, it was so looked down upon. Like people are like, that's the devil's music, and it's like it's in a way for people to express themselves, people that didn't feel like they had a voice and then finally found something. I mean, it started with people mixing up records and playing them at different times and collaborating them together where DJing came in, where people were making their own beats. And then we saw, movements. I was one of two white people in the movie theaters when Straight Outta Compton came out. You don't know how awkward it felt. But it was so it was so humbling and so like real that it didn't matter what color I was. No one gave a shit about that. And there were times in the movie, in the scenes when they were getting called the N word and they were getting called like, beat up for their color of their skin. I felt like crap, but I felt like we were all still enjoying something. And that's what you can take with music. The fact that when I left the movie theater, I was still able to connect with people about the movie. And we were all very so similar, and we saw that in the movie theaters, laughing at scenes that were funny, and seeing such basically a historic moment kind of unfold, and like
Yeah.
seeing the true story of it was amazing.
Yeah, man, like that's like a powerful thing because I mean, I always say when it comes to sort of the black and white and the culture of it, yes, it was originally a black urban, just a way of, the community coming together in the Bronx and stuff, but it's become so universal over time. But I always say, like, at first when I was starting off, I did have my bubble of artists that I would listen to, but I really wanted to learn and try and develop where this culture came from, like how it started to where it is now, and really, I guess, intertwined with the artists that really the pioneer fathers like Cool Herc and Grandmaster Caz and African Bambaataa, like the original founding fathers, man, and like what they just did for something that's become so universal. And I feel like we've lost that now, man. Like, I mean, the kids come into it now. It's like, yeah, I just rather tattoo my face up and dye my hair and drink lean and stuff. And it's like, yo, like, check out these guys. They made some dope music. It's like, no, you guys are old cats and stuff. And it's just like, man, like that's like the downfall of what it's going to come to, or what it has come to. I mean, and I always get the argument, yeah, but you got to search for like the good artists. But it's like, man, back in the day, you didn't have to search for the good artists. We were spoon fed, you know.
It wasn't that you had to search, it was that everyone is technically a good artist, but I think a lot of people lose track about what it's really about. Most people think it's about fame, most people think it's about
Mm,
sex, most people think it's about money, and in some aspects it is. That is kind of why you do it, but also you got to remember where the original base primal form came from. It was people using it as a voice, if you saw Straight Outta Compton, which a lot of my knowledge on the rap game or anything of that sort comes from that. I don't listen to it every day. I'm one of the few kids of my generation that does. And only because it's not my like form of listening to, but I've still, when I'm at the gym and I need a pump up song or something, Till I Collapse by Eminem, listening to like Machine Gun Kelly, listening to NWA, I got hooked on that song. Actually, my buddy's boss owns a 1969 Impala. So I was like cruising down, not 1969, 1964 Chevy Impala, but it's all white and the
yeah.
inside's like an authentic interior. And I remember, posting on Snapchat, showing off like cruising down the street in my 6'4". And then like, but it's like you listen to the lyrics and you listen to stuff. It's all real shit. It's like the shit that no one ever really talks about anymore. Like so many people
Oh,
go now and
yeah.
go, I got so many cars. And now rapping's turned into a form where I see it kind of got lost a little bit, but I understand where it's adapting to an ever changing world, I guess, where it comes to people just making humbles and mumbles and these types of things that do sound good. I think Busta Rhymes did it pretty damn well. But when, man, you don't know the feeling you get when you put in DMX and you're hearing where the hood, where the hood, where the hood at. And it's like,
Mm,
I'm a white boy playing that song. You get some eyes looking at you. And I'm
yeah.
pretty sure you probably feel the same way trying to be at least a white, call whatever, American trying to, or not American, Australian trying to start rap. Like I don't even see in Austria, that's got to be like very, very few people even enjoy the rap game there.
Well, man, like that's great that you said that because, like, that's what I've been saying. I mean, when you listen to NWA, I call it tasting, like, you can taste LA. Like, when you listen to DMX or, Wu-Tang Clan, you can taste the streets of, like, New York. And they just they knew how to tap into that flavor. Now, man, like, I always say, when I hear that like that backing bass where it's like that, like all these kids are using it, I know for a fact it's going to be shit. Like, I just like cross it out straight away. Well, no, like I don't cross it out, but I mean, like, I know how it's going to sound. Like if I go onto World Star Hip Hop now, but with the Australian scene, man, we're funny enough, man. Like we are so secluded. When it comes to Australia, it's like you guys are so far away. You are so secluded off the map. But man, we have so much love for this flavor of hip hop that we're talking about. I mean, we've got like the battle scene over here is skyrocketing at the moment. Um, lyricism is just on top. Like, I mean, if you come to Australia, to any artist listening to this, if you come to Australia with that whole, I got lean in my bottle and what we're talking about, man, you're just gonna get booted out because we we don't there's some kids that do it, man, but they don't really get far with it. But you got to have bars when you're here, man. And it's funny when the big celebs come here. We just had Nas and Lauryn Hill from the Fugees come here and on his Illmatic tour, and it was funny because when they came, every big artist that comes here thinks they're going to be chucked by a boomerang or the whole Crocodile Dundee thing, and when they see we've got so much love for hip hop and we just want to fuel that kind of, I guess you can say, I don't know, in Americanized way. They're like, man, you guys are so cultural and stuff. And we're like, yeah, like we're not that secluded. I mean, things do come late here, so you got to watch out for the spoilers when, Avengers and stuff come out. But
Oh
yeah, we're
yeah,
pretty,
I
yeah.
mean, you got to look. I think that what you're saying, you're explaining like America. First of all, is like that's where mainly a lot of the entertainment and all that stuff comes from. Only
Mm,
because but a lot of people from like other countries look here as seeing as a place for inspiration. And yeah, that's true. But I also think it's not the proper way of really getting inspiration, even though it's created some really good stuff, but you can find it anywhere. It just really sucks that a lot of inspiration and creativity comes from, going through some shit. And sadly, America goes through some shit. Like I don't knock it. I like living here, but at the same time, there is some stuff that needs to be changed. But you can see that anywhere. And you coming from Australia and trying to start into the rap game, like that's a little bit difficult on two standards. One, it's very hard for people to overlook race or color of your skin.
mm.
Sadly, the reason why like there's groups like black culture groups or these types of things like black podcast only groups, that's only because they're seeing something that they turn into theirs and that is theirs, and they don't want it taken away from some person that's going to either make it look bad or do some type of things, which is understandable. You truly care about something and you truly want to own something, you have to try your best to make sure it is always good and make sure every type of person that come across it sees it as that's the form that's awesome for everyone to get, which makes it difficult when you're trying to be a white guy rapping on stage. Like Eminem, for example, 8 Mile has so many deep meanings to it. If you watch that and you see him come across stage, nobody is taking him seriously. Everybody
Mm.
is thinking like this guy's got doesn't have shit. Then he starts rapping and you see the whole race thing disappear. You saw him break down the wall. You saw him bust his ass and realize I'm on the street just like the next man, doing the same shit you're doing, living in the same environment around you every single day. I'm around you, working with you hand in hand. We're the same person. That's where I say racism is not always going to be a thing. It's really hard to see that with a lot of people that hold it too closely, but I think they're looking at the smallest part of the picture when you look at we're all just people.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny like how much knowledge you're tapping into, and because I watch a lot of hip hop podcasts and stuff, and there's an old school rapper called Lord Jamar, and he used to be in a group called Brand Nubian back in the '90s, and he's a 5%er, so it's all about the Black Rights Movement and all of that. And the question got brought up, kind of similar to this topic of whites in hip hop. And he said, whites are a guest in the house of hip hop because it's originally a black art form. And I'm not saying whites can't rap, like Eminem, MC Serch, the Beastie Boys, all that. I could go down the list, but I'm saying trying to say yous were the originators as well, and yous have made something like, I mean, how did he explain it? I can't really word it, but it was sort of a form of just saying like, yous don't own it, like yous can't really take it from us. Like you can be a part of it, but you can't sort of say this is ours because originally it is a black art domain of music, which I'm not mad at, man. Like I agree. And I realize that's a form of respect. I mean, if I said, man, I own hip hop music, it's like, well, no, I really wasn't with the kids, in the Bronx and stuff. I wasn't really with, the black friends and stuff. Like, I love it to death. Like, it's like, it really helped my career. It's what I live by every day. But, and it's helped me through some bad times. But saying that, I was a pioneer in my own sort of world, I've really been taking it for granted. And I feel like when it comes to white artists, man, we do have to really step up and really respect where it's come from, and that's what pisses me off about a lot of white artists. Like, for example, Iggy Azalea, she's Australian, and
She
funny
does not
thing.
rap very well, but she has a nice ass, so I give her that.
Yeah, like when she got signed by T.I.'s label in 2016, I think it was, newspapers were broadcasting her and stuff. And here in Australia, we were thinking, who's this Iggy Azalea? Like, we've never heard of her, and she's Australian, and man, she's gonna put a face on the map for us, and blah blah. And when Fancy came out, and she was doing the whole, southern, like, oh, I don't know how she raps and stuff. That B-Rad Malibu's Most Wanted mockery crap, man. Like, that was a spit in the face to our country, man. Like, when we saw that, and then everyone was like, interviewing her, and real hip hop cats were like, yo, is that how Australia raps and stuff? And she's like, oh, she wasn't even given a proper example. She was just like, I just do what I want to do and stuff. And it's like, holy shit, man. Like, you
You're
had this.
ruining the name for us, basically. You're giving us all a
Yeah,
bad rep. And it's
yeah.
funny because there's, I think, a couple ways you can approach the rap game. You can be all the flashy one that shows up with a bunch of chains wrapped around his neck and try and be as fake as possible, like in
Mm.
Scary Movie when they did the reinterpretation of 8 Mile, and
Yeah.
that you saw that, like, they're highlighting. I think the whole point is to not gloss over the fact that you're a different color, but show them you're going to put in the effort to create this craft and realize it's not just isolated to one race. It's open to everyone. You're seeing it being a little bit more open now with other artists, but when I see new rappers nowadays, it seems like they lost the original form. It seems like they're picked up. It just turned into a new trend. I still have a fascination with the classic old rap styles, only because Run DMC, all these types of people that, they talk about their experience in it, and hearing them talk about matching up records and trying to create lines, and finally hearing something where they would just play it over and over and over and over again and become so addicted to it because they've never heard that type of music before. And that's what got them inspired to do that. And then I listened to podcasts with like Snoop Dogg where he goes, at least it's not that mumble shit, that stupid, he's making fun of it too. And I'm like, that's true. Like, we can relate on that. It's not a race thing. It's a culture thing. It's about, like, everybody enjoying a creativity that is in a whole nother form.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great point that you brought up, man. Of, sort of, it is very cultural, like different evolutions and eras and stuff. Um, but at the same time, I mean, yes, when I was their age at 14, starting into it, I had my own bubble. Like Eminem, 50 Cent was skyrocketing at the time, like, DMX. And then when I'd see those different eras, like the 90s, the no, I'm going backwards, the 90s, the 80s, and then the 70s, and just seeing these guys like LL Cool J with like the kangaroo hat and the rope chains, and Run DMC, with their Adidas on and stuff. And then you go back to the 70s, which was like the funk, and because they were getting influences from like Earth, Wind and Fire and Michael Jackson and stuff, and they didn't really know what hip hop was at the time. It really sparked something in my own career to be like, all right, they're talking about their life and like what this culture means to them, and to express yourself. Why not do that? It makes you more knowledgeable as an MC compared to just looking at your own bubble. And I feel like with the kids now, if they took a step back from this lean and this mumble rap kind of stuff and really went back into the past and learned about the greats, it would knowledge them up to be a better MC, man. It'd be like, man, I got to quit like look at myself in the mirror and be just like, dude, this is not what the culture is. If that makes sense, man, you know,
Well,
that's just what I want.
I think what's really, really interesting is you're seeing that a lot of like, if you watch like, like I'm keep referencing NWA being,
Mm.
white, but sadly, you look at like them creating a song like, fuck the police, and then them telling them like if they go on stage and play that, they're going to pull them right off, and they know they're going to get the shit beat out of them, and they're already being kind of monetized and all this stuff. Like, don't play that, and they're just look at each other and go, and then hit that beat and just start saying it. And you just see the cops holding the badges up in the air. Yeah, that was movie ties a little bit, but that's what they felt like. They were put down because of the way they looked. Like people were trying to
Mm.
stop them before they started because they saw violence and saw all this hatred. It's like it was a way of expressing how they truly felt. They didn't
Yeah,
want to
man.
start violence. They wanted people to realize like you're being pushed down and you're being taught to act a certain way when that's not who you are. And then you look at like NWA's song or version of Express Yourself. Like I'm expressing
Yeah.
with full capabilities. And you hear like him start going and explain that like express yourself. Like literally that's what it means. Take the legit lyrics he's saying. He's telling you like it's not some type of like I love rock and stuff and I love reggae, I love all these things, but it's not talking about like an octopus's garden like the Beatles do. It's not something you have to be like on an LSD trip to understand. It's something like literally take the words I'm saying, you can all relate to this. If you feel like you're being oppressed, pop in one of our songs, bam, there you go. Now, how have you tried to adapt your least style or version of rap into like what do you try and go by? What do you try and structure by?
Well, man, honestly, you know, I mean, when I was writing about sort of my mental health and like my pain and that, my first demo I did was really about myself. And then when my second album, Understand Me, came out, I really want to express it more to whoever else is going through it, because I know like the rock bottom mindset, man. I know like how it, you know, you're all alone and the world is kind of against you in your own mind. Like they're probably with you, but you know, when you're in that frame of mind, you just think everyone's your enemy. You got a chip on your shoulder sort of thing. So and then I started doing like a couple of youth work things and all that through my music. But yeah, I just thought, you know, use it as a social message more than a personal message now. But you know, to craft up that lyricism and the way that I write my music, it was just from having I mean, it was just from having these guys as a backbone. I mean, like if I had Lil Pump or you know, Lil this or Shorty this, I wouldn't be able to write like, you know, rhymes like I do, because that's not their flavor and stuff. Um, you know, and I feel like that's a big problem. The guys that I have on my shoulders, and I'm thankful that I grew up in that time, yeah, like the 90s and the thousands, they are the ones that really were the gods and stuff that push me to be like them. Like, because I would look at those dudes, man, and just be like, I want to be like that. You know, I want to be like that, rocking the mics and just seeing the crowd roar of like their their own insights into their own worlds and stuff. And you can't feel that now, man. Like it's just like, oh, I'm drinking lean and stuff. It's like, what world are you talking about? Well, like being like a junkie and stuff. Yeah, sure thing. Um, but
It sucks that that's the type of version that people think of when you think of rap nowadays, because that's the one that gets all the publicity, the one that acts out and seems the most craziest. When you can look at somebody like Atmosphere, like that guy
yeah,
rapping
oh,
about,
dude, yeah,
dude,
yeah.
yeah, okay. Now I found a fascination with Atmosphere, like thinking life kind of sucks, and then listening to The Best Day, like life sucks, or whatever. The day sucks. That's life. It happens. I woke up on the dark side of my mattress. Like you start hearing shit like that, you're like, "Fuck, man, this is real shit. Like this is stuff I'm thinking about and experiencing. It's about being as real as possible." You start just playing like, I got 600 horses and all this shit. It's like, why? Why are you going
Oh,
down the old town road? You don't need to anymore. We have cars.
yeah, man. Like, I mean, that's crazy you brought up Atmosphere, because one of my favorite songs he did was I think it's called Talking to All My Friends, Talking with My Friends, I think it was. but that it's a storytelling track, and just like every time I listen to it, I feel like it's like a mirror in front of me, and I'm listening to myself, because he's talking about, like, he had all that fun in high school with all of his friends and stuff, and then they're all grown up and maybe got jobs and getting their life together, and he's like a kind of struggling musician, and everyone's like, "You're still rapping?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm still," and it's kind of like looked at as a mockery, because he's not an Eminem level, he's sort of still an independent level. And I was like, dude, like, that is so much like me. I mean, like, I'm striving and like sort of making a living and stuff off it, man, but not, most of my friends now, they've got like internships, and one's a psychologist and one's in construction and all this sort of stuff, man. And they're just like, dude, when are you gonna get a 9 to 5? And it's just like,
That's not
nah, man.
that 9 to
Yeah,
5 is not you.
yeah. And just when I listen to it, man, it's just like, man, like, that's crazy. Like, that's the, I don't know, man. Like, that's what I love about hip hop. I'm getting a bit giddy about it, to be honest, man. Yeah,
It's good to
but
see that though, because you don't see that drive nowadays anymore, man. Let me tell you, like, listening to Atmosphere, reference back to him, like sunshine, sunshine, I feel it in my skin. Like
mm,
that whole thing. It's about being relatable. I think the fact is you truly lose who you are as an artist when you create some type of fantasy and type of fake lifestyle, or type of lifestyle you're living that is not relatable to others. A lot of people don't know what it's like to own 300 Ferraris that are all painted white. Like it's hard for people to listen to that and be like, "Wow, like my life sucks. This guy's life is awesome." It just makes people become too comfortable in just trying to survive, and it's like, because they feel like they're never going to amount to anything. And if that works for that artist, that works for that artist, but it doesn't create a realistic expectation, like, hey, I'm just like you, I came from something. A lot of, like, if you ever watch interviews with rappers, they talk about that. They talk
mm.
about, like, I'm just like the average person. I had a drive to do something and I did it. I was given the tools I was given to work with, and I turned it into something. And that's something you got to do. I mean, if a bunch of people are going to look at you as some fake white rapper displaying on however you want to display, you got to show them you're not one of them.
Yeah, man, that's incredible that you said that. I mean, there's artists that do have their ego, which is like, it's all about me, and I've got the jewelry, I've got the cars and the girls and stuff, and I don't give a shit about my fans. And then there is there is some that really can't come out of their house. Like, look at Eminem, can't come out of his house, man, without getting bombarded. But man, then there's dudes that really were the pioneers of their time, like Run DMC, or I'll use a perfect example like Rakim, Eric B. and Rakim, which I think Rakim, man, is the god MC. Like, I mean, he is the pinnacle of what an MC should be. Even to that, he was in the '80s, man. But I mean, it's funny because when people look at me, man, they're like, "Your favorite MC is Eminem," and I'm like, "Nah, man, it's Rakim." Um, and because he was he changed the evolution of the rap game, man, when in the '80s, but he's still just in the streets, man. Like, I mean, like, in his local neighborhood, slapping hands, and he's like touring, different states, and probably different countries and stuff. And then he comes back and just chills with his neighborhood, man. And I'm like, that's what I love, man. I love the ones that at their time they were like, they could get that lavish lifestyle and stuff, but it's sort of like slowed down a bit from, and they've taken it back to their roots and just really just gelled in with their neighborhood, man, and haven't left it, in a sense. And I was like, man, I just love seeing stuff like that, where they don't have that ego behind them. Like, maybe when you become too famous, like Eminem, you have to move away. But even in that standpoint, like, for example, Jay-Z, he's like with, he used to be with like Obama and all this kind of stuff, but he still takes it back. Like, there's pictures of him where he's like chilling in his neighborhood and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, dude, like, do you realize like the level of, like, it's mind boggling, man.
Plus, when you're
So
Jay-Z, you're already like basically married. You're married to Beyonce, so I don't think you need to go out partying every single night at that point. He kind of lives a comfortable, normal lifestyle compared to most artists. Like you see Kanye West, you know,
Mm.
going through so much shit. And I'm like, you understand the amounts of pressure being looked up to by so many people as well. Like seeing it from his perspective, it's very difficult for him. And, you know, he has his own things that he goes through. But it's like they're just normal people just like us. You start looking at them on such a high horse, and eventually, you know, that's not saying that's not something you shouldn't be doing, but you also have to realize they're people too. So every time they mess up, it gets highlighted so bad and they look like such pieces of shit. Where I'm like, you mess up too. You know what I mean? It's the whole thing. You have to realize that anything or how popular someone has become, it's obtainable. You just
Mm.
have to put in the effort to reach it. And things that people go through, whether you want to make fun of Nick Cannon, his rap style, whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter because he's doing what works for him. He's still living the life he likes to live. So you can talk as much shit as you want, but really in the true aspect of things, you're jealous not that they're being, you know, got millions of Ferraris. You're jealous that they're being talked about. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad because you might feel insufficient about where you are in your own life. And you know, not everyone is meant to be a rapper. I think a lot of the times, like I don't know how many kids in my school said they started some mixtape that was fire. And I hear that, I'm like, but is it really though? Or are you just trying to do something and adopt a lifestyle that you're not truly meant to live? And
Mm.
it sucks because you think of rappers, you don't think of them as musicians when they are musicians. They create a
Yeah.
form of art, but a lot of people look at it like, no, a musician is playing an instrument. I'm like, that's not true. Let me tell you, I come from a musical town and I have a musical background. My whole family's involved with music. I'm the only one that decided not to go into that line of work. All my family's in bands. I have no inspiration for it, only because I understand it's not something I want to do. I think a lot of people get false, I guess, perception on what they want to do with their life only because they see all the money, all the glamour, all the fame, which everybody wants. I see it in a
Mm.
whole different light. I see it using my voice, using being able to talk to people. I don't really care if I get famous. I don't really care if I get rich. Yeah, it'd be hella nice, dude. But at the same time, I'm interested in understanding people more and more and more and seeing how the world is so wonderful and everyone is so unique in their very own way.
Yeah, man, like that's we're on the same wavelength with that. Like, man, when I was starting off, like as a teenager, yeah, like I wanted the, you know, the fame and the riches and the girls and stuff. But when you become older and more mature, you dwell out of that and you do it. Like me, man, I dwelled out of it because I realized that one, it's a very small market here, but also two, I've really found something that I love, which is, you know, hip hop, man, and people know me for that, and that's all I was thankful for. Of just like knowing I can walk down the street now, and people are like, "Yeah, Mosey, you're the, you know, the hip hop guy, or you're the one that does, you know, the albums and stuff," and it's like they know that I've got that mutual respect for something that's so universal, and not in a cocky kind of way. It's more in a just a love kind of way. And, you know, sometimes I get tested with it. It's like, oh, you know, I still get the whole, oh, you want to be Eminem and stuff. And I test them with it. I just say, man, like, it's funny how you're calling me Eminem and there's so many white R's out there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm
no one
like, oh,
talks about Beastie Boys. Well, like, come on about those guys, man. They were
yeah.
three white boys, and they did some of. I mean, their songs probably have more of a like. I don't know if you ever seen the show Futurama, but they have a thing where they were analyzing how they were rapping. They were like, their rhymes are at a 99.7% during their songs. Like they're rapping most of the time, and they're picking off one another. And you see those guys. Nobody talks shit on the Beastie Boys. Those guys,
Yeah.
they had a ridiculous name, especially coming on stage. But you hear those songs and those beats. Oh my God. It's like everything came together like God literally gifted the world with something.
Yeah, man. Like speaking with like musicians, I feel like, you know, whatever genre you're in, it makes a better musician if you like have all different forms of genres behind you. Like my iPod, man, is, you know, filled with like, you know, rock and roll. Like I reckon the Rolling Stones are the greatest band to ever live, man. My personal opinion, but I think the greatest musician to ever live. And I don't know why I get gutted for this, but I think Michael Jackson was the greatest to ever live, man. Just like he was above his time. It's funny. I was having a conversation with this guy the other day, And I said, man, you could put like Drake on stage now. You could put like whatever the new Beyonce on stage now. Nothing will beat that Soul Train Awards back in the 80s when he did the moonwalk for the first time and he comes on and he's combing his hair and he does like the moonwalk and the spin on the that crowd, man, went bonkers, man. And even if I'm watching it, like that 4 minute clip, man, that screw a $300 ticket, man. I'd watch that, and that still sends chills down my spine, man. I just reckon, like, obviously, it was a shame what happened to him, and he's passed away now. But I mean, fuck, man, put Billie Jean on, man, and get with any girl in the club.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's literally like you see history happen in the moment. You know what I mean? We're not seeing it the next day on our phones. Back in the day, people were witnessing it happen in front of their face, and it was these types of imprinting and these types of revelations that people were experiencing. I mean, do you find that what would you say lies more into the creation of a song? Would you say it would be the lyrics, or would you say it be the beats?
man, that's a great question. Man,
Or what would you focus on the most? The lyrics?
it's funny, man, because some artists, like, I mean, for example, right, like Nas, like when he no, actually, I'll go. Yeah, okay, I'll go Nas. So, Illmatic is one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, and he's known for picking crap basic beats. Like, I mean, and I agree, like some of his beats are atrocious, but the way that he rhymes and stuff, man, and the way that he structures his message across, it's like you don't even care because he's so good at it. And he's not this rat pack sack kind of guy. He's like very lyrical, but he knows how to suck you into his world. Um, and then there's artists, which is like Snoop Dogg. His rhyme scheme is very rat pack sack, block sock top, like that kind of thing. But his beats are incredible. So it's a hard thing to match, man. I mean, the one that really is great with that is Tupac, man. Like, I mean, some of he's like California Love, he's got the right flow, or Hit 'Em Up, or just like I could mention any song, man, and he's got the right flavor. So it's hard to say, man, what's better, or what could match, because you could have like the greatest beat, but the rapper will be whack on it and wouldn't know what to do with the beat. Or you could have the most basic beat, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, back and forth. So I really can't give an answer for that, man. It's hard. Um,
Have you
yeah.
have you ever heard of the band Crooked Trees?
Nah, no, I haven't.
Well, Crooked Trees is like a reggae slash rap band, but they have a bunch of good songs. And it's like they have this one song that kind of hit with me a little bit, kind of diving into my realm with like reggae music and stuff where I have a
Mm.
fascination from. But like listening to like that song Rebel, it goes, I'm a rebel because I do what I want, yeah, since I was young. And it's all about like just being a spunky person, just being a fighter, being this type of person that does whatever he wants, like an anarchist type thing. But it was such like it was good beats like palm trees, good weed, and like yeah, I'm like it's just it doesn't matter if you smoke weed or you don't smoke weed. Like it was something like you heard it, you were like, oh shit, like it can get you pumped up. Nobody really understands what it means anymore to truly take something from a song, you know?
Oh yeah.
And especially
Eh,
when you look at like a wonderful, at least at anything of art, anything, creativity, whatever, music, either movies, whatever. It's that all the pieces in some songs that seem to last throughout history seem like they were all meant for each other.
Oh, without a doubt, man. Like, the other night here in Australia, we've got a program over here called SBS, and they play like a lot of documentaries, and they showed, I think it's because it's the 50th anniversary of Woodstock, or so, like 400,000 people, and it just looks so free. Like, you didn't have these laws like he touched me, and or like he overdosed and cancel drugs, and all these like politically correct views we have. It was just everyone was free, and you could make friends so easily, and and there wasn't one single phone either. But yeah, man, like it was just so amazing but sad at the same time, because it's like we are so different now. Like we are so connected, but yet on the outside we are so disconnected because of phones and egos and um I got to have this or you got to have this for me to either be your friend or date you or this kind of thing. And it's like, man, like even like going up to someone and shaking their hand now, or even on the train, like be like, hey, how's your day? And they've got this attitude which is like, oh, like I don't even know who you are. And it's like, man, like you don't need to know who I am, just like have a conversation. I mean, like where did conversation go? I'm not texting you, I'm talking to you. So yeah, I feel like it's a real downfall, man, of where we've become as a society, man.
Do you have hopes for, at least, it really sucks I gotta say it like this, because every time I say it I feel like slapping myself in the face, the rap game. Do you have hopes for it? Do you have hopes that this like style of art is gonna kind of keep on keeping on, I guess?
It's honestly, man, I believe the problem where it all stemmed and it all started was because of social media. Like, one, social media is great to build your brand, and like, don't get me wrong, like, I wouldn't have found this show with social media, man, or anything. So it's great. But at the same time, it showcases a lot of stupidity. Like, I mean, you could have this 14-year-old kid tattoo his face up and pop a few Xanax pills, and the video will go viral, and he'd be like, on TMZ, next superstar, so and so from nothing is now a hot new rapper, and he's got the most garbageous music, and you've got this like talented dude, paycheck after paycheck, just rhyming, and got the greatest music, but he's probably got like 200 views on his video, and no one's rocking with him because he's not that hot new thing. So I mean, I do believe social media is a big problem with it, but also people's views on what they're watching. Like, I mean, for example, like when I watch shit like that, like obviously I love watching a funny video and stuff, man. But when I see um like a dumbed down kind of thing, and I know that it's trying to reference hip hop, it really makes me angry. Like it's like one of my burning points, man. When I see a kid and he's like, yeah, like throwing up gang signs and stuff, and then next minute he gets like tested, and and then it's just like, Lil so and so apologizes for throwing, and I was like, why would you fucking do that in the first place? Like, it's just stop
They
the
see it as
buffoonery, man.
they see it as a way to
Yeah,
get attention, and then sadly they don't like that form of attention.
yeah.
A lot of people don't understand like good publicity and bad publicity. You can't say there isn't such a thing, because you're not going to feel too good when people are talking shit on you all the time, especially when you're not at least in the mindset that you don't give a shit about what anybody thinks about. And sadly, the world today, people and kids these days, they say stuff on social media thinking they don't give a shit what other people say back, and they get hit with that something. Next thing you know, that kid's on the ledge.
Oh, dude, man, like that's like this whole, I don't care how I act or how I'm gonna act in the world. That's just a stupid mind of thinking to begin with, man, because there's so many consequences. Like that's it's like a motto they want to live by, but they can't live up to it. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and then when shit goes too far, they want handouts. Like they're like, I'm sorry, I need this, or help me out with this and stuff. And it's like, well, buddy, like you put your toe in the water and stuff. Like, well, what are you talking about? I mean, like there is consequences in life. Like you can't. I don't know, man. I could preach, man, but I'm just over the buffoonery of like this constantly going on to world star hip hop, man, or something. And it's like just another garbage after garbage, man. I'm like, where's the talent gone, man? Like, where, I don't know, man. It's just, it's funny because sometimes I analyze it as well. Like, I'll just flick on one of their videos, and it's funny. I'll scroll down the comments, and it's like the most weirdest comments. It'd be like, this song made me kick my cat, or this song made me get up in the morning, like this weird sort of stuff. I'm like, what, hashtag this, hashtag this. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I'll go to like, an old school Eminem song, and all of their comments are just like, we need this back. We need this, old school back. Where's the lyricism? And it's like, everyone's like respecting it. It's like, fuck, are there new kids now so disconnected from everything? It's like they just sound fucking dumb, like mindless zombies, man. I
Do
don't
you
know. Yeah, I always say, man, like, you know, we've grown up. We're now in the stage where kids want to be wannabe gangsters and girls want to pro themselves. That's what I say, man. Even how harsh that sounds, I feel like that's
It's
what it's turned
true,
into.
but
Yeah.
I think the whole factor is we're all looking for a voice. We're all looking for something out there to and like to be heard at least to get your opinion. And then once they get it, they're like, all right, that's all I wanted. That's all I needed. I just need someone to know that like I do matter. And I'm like, everyone matters. You just
Mm.
have to realize like you have your own form. You have what you're going to do. If you want to take a shot at it, go take a shot at it. But people see, you know, if you're white, if you're, you know, they start putting restrictions and classifications on what things are identify you or what you have to be to join into something like that. And I'm like, you're already making the biggest mistake by trying to limit something that's a creative work just to a strict guideline of who should be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't say, you know, who should not and who should be doing it, but I feel like there should be like a respect. Like this whole thing, man, with uh, Old Town Road, like Lil Nas X, man, and it's you know become the number one in what was it? It was some chart. I think it was Billboard or something. But it's like it's beat Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. It's beat Michael Jackson. It's beat the Stones. Like dude, and everyone's like it's the number one song. Madonna. It's
It's a
beat like
trend.
yeah, like it's beat everyone, and it's just like you're not fooling me with that crap. And it's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, that's because everyone's on social media. It's simple to get those views. Like, well, if you're at a certain level, it's simple. If it goes viral, this quote unquote viral. Like back in the day, man, like if those dudes had what we have now, like if Billie Jean came out and we had, dude, that please, man, it'd be on the same chart, but because they have to like, physically do it and get, copies and manufacturing and stuff, no wonder it's like, whatever, when I think went diamond at the time. But yeah, it's just what you said, man. It's a trend. It's just a viral thing. It doesn't mean anything, man. I mean, like you can't tell me, like you have to be a dumbass to say Old Town Road is better than anything the Stones put out or anything that the Beatles put out. Luckily I haven't had that argument yet, man. But like, if you gave me this, I don't know how it goes, but this Old Town Road, and you're saying that's better than Thriller, like you're a fucking moron, man. Like honestly, plain and simple, man. It's
Yeah,
just
you're listening to the flashy beat and not listening to the true work, the true passion that goes into it. You can be an artist that chooses to say, boom, and the next thing you know, it's just 20 minutes of the same beat over and over again. And that could be a top hit. I'm not saying it's not, but I see better credit and better structure when it's somebody that you can, when you're listening to it, you're able to be like, yo, I can feel it. Like I can hear it. Like nothing's like better than putting Pink Floyd on and sticking your hand up to the amplifier to feel the beats and feel the music come out of that and sense it through your body. There's something, music is amazing. It's a fact. The fact that we have it is so wonderful. And being able to experience just being moved by a song, like rolling down the windows and truly not giving a shit, like is amazing that we can do that. And I feel like you chalk it up to like Snoop Dogg,
mm,
sat down, took the lyrics to like took all that stuff. He sat there and crafted the work. He put in the time himself. Ice Cube, all these people. And then you look at the rappers that have people and companies just do it for them, and they just have to use their voice and be the flashy image on the front. You start creating yourself to be like a politician, like somebody's running the wings in the background, and you're just the face.
mm, mm. Yeah, man. Like I mean, that see, I love like lyrics, beats, and image, and I mean I think they're the three things you need. And I'm not saying hip hop's got to like evolve, but like what it's come to now, man, is I look at the dudes back in my time, or even past that, like and they just look so they fit the bill. Like you look at an image of Jay-Z back in the early thousands, man. And I'm not saying every white boy should do it, but I mean, like, you look at that and you just think, man, that's hip hop. Like, the baseball cap and the chains and that kind of thing. And I'm not saying go Malibu's, be rad, but I'm just saying, like, that's hip hop. And then when you flick to 2019, it's like pink hair, and now they're wearing dresses with AKs and tattooing their face. I'm like, dude, like, I could see you, like, getting the welfare check, or over here we call it Centrelink. But it's like, man, I could see you getting the Centrelink check. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, you just like that like, if I was a 14, like, honestly, man, if I was a 14-year-old and 50 Cent started doing that back then, it's like 50 Cent is wearing a dress. I'd be like, I'm not going to the record store and purchasing his album. Like, what sort of corny fuck does that? So it's like, and they're saying Kanye West is a genius, man. Get out of here, man. He ain't no genius, man. Like, he's got dope music, don't get me wrong, but this whole he's a genius, he's a mastermind and stuff, man. Dude, like,
You
please,
got to
man.
give credit where credit is due. You know what I mean?
Oh,
You
dude,
have
he's not
to.
a Quincy Jones. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Like,
dude. Oh God, yeah.
yeah.
You got to realize that there are people out there that truly care about the art, and and sadly, sometimes they don't get famous and they don't get noticed, and their art goes a little bit unnoticed until years after they die. And the fact is, you have to realize when you're getting fed the same spoon-fed bullshit, and you have to realize when something amazing comes across your lap. You have to really sit down and enjoy it. And I think, like, if anybody takes anything away from this podcast, is to show, like, my interpretation of you just from seeing your profile picture and the way the little short messages we made was like, oh my God, another guy, white rapper trying to be something, another one of those guys. But then talking to you, not even for 5 minutes, just talking to you for like 2 minutes, I could already pick up, like, you were already being real up front. And I think that's the best thing for people to notice about anybody that tries to do anything. You need to show that you're real. You need to show you're human, and you need to show, like, this is who you are. You've shown me, like, your whole story, man, and your kind of your travels. And I hope it works out for you. I really do. I see great things, dude, because you have a leveled head on your shoulders, man. Like, just being able to talk to you and connect, like, that's something a lot of people would not take the time to do.
Oh, likewise, man, 100%. Like, with the show and stuff. And this is what I was saying. Like, I love shows where it's just chill conversation like this. I mean, instead of being interrogated with, questions where it's like, what did you do this? And how did you do this? And it's like, oh man, it's like just flowing natural conversation. And that just comes under people, man. I mean, you know, I think because having that sort of judgmental um in like reflection I've had with society. I was like, yo, you're a white rapper, or when I was a young kid with my mental health, I sort of realized how nasty society can become to one person, and how vicious we can become. And I feel like, why do I have to be the same as that? Like, why not just, like, dude, like, we have only one life. And I mean, before I was doing music, well, no, when I was a funny thing, when I was starting with music, I had this waitering job, and there was this one kid, and he was an outspoken kind of kid, like, but very introvert and very shy, and he just didn't know how to approach conversations without saying something wrong. And he's like, I don't have any friends, I don't have this, da 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 da. And everyone in the waitering thing was avoiding him. And I was just thinking, dude, like, that is just evil. Like, why would you avoid this? He just wants to reach out and say hi. And I was like, man, I was washing dishes one day, and I was just like, yo, like, having a conversation with him and just knowing about, he was into comic books and he was into all this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, boosting up a conversation about him. And I was like, that's just made his day. Like, I mean, like, we're just people, man. And, why have that ego and that judgmental of just getting to know someone, like, and knowing their past and stuff. And I feel like, just be a people person, man.
Be a connector, and also be able to be relatable. I know I went to high school with someone who listened to Eminem all the time, wore Batman headphones, giant, was, I mean, the stereotypical like fake white rapper, not like chains or anything, but just like really kind of nerdied out. And those
Mm.
are justifications I made on him. People would make fun of him, but you know what? He stood up in front of the school and rapped his own little creative rap, like, and people respected it. People were like, holy shit. And I had him on my podcast. His name's Andrew Leto. Big shout out to him, dude. Because him being able to do that, he was one of the people that it took me a while to understand this, that truly did not give a fuck. Like he was one of those people. He was like, I don't care. I don't care. I was like, dude, they're making fun of you. He's like, dude, I don't care. Like, I don't care, man. I am who I am, you know? And then him sitting in front of me is talking to him like 5 years after we've graduated from like class together, and I'm seeing him in the army now. And then also he's got like, yeah, I got this tattoo that's Rick and Morty. I got this tattoo that's from Yo. And I'm like, bro, how do you do that? He goes, dude, it's all about not giving a shit. I'm like, that is so awesome. And I commend you for that, because he had it figured out before it seems like everyone.
Oh, it's crazy, man. Like, I mean, you know, I used to know this girl called Ricky, and she was like very gothic kind of looking. I used to like make fun of her, of just like joking around with her, of calling her the Princess of Darkness. And she'd be like, shut up, I just like the culture and stuff. And, you know, and I was like, all right, cool. And, you know, I used to see her sometimes at the shopping center when I used to go out there and stuff. And she, like, everyone was just afraid of her because the way that she looked, like she had like the dark hair and the eyeliner and stuff. And she used to sit there and just read, and everyone would have that look like, oh God, you know, just like very zombified and that. And I like, when I first met her, I walked up and I said, what's your name and stuff? And she's like, she was very timid, like, oh, Ricky, like that. And we were like, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we were just getting into a conversation about the Rolling Stones. And I was just like, and everyone was looking at us like it was seeing God walk on earth. They were just looking like someone's talking to her, like, you know, get out our phones and stuff. And I was just like, she's just a person. Like, what are you talking about? What, just because she's not in a button-up shirt and jeans or whatever the girls wear, or a crop top or something? She's just a person, you know? So, I mean, it's a shame because she was very attractive and she's different now. No offense to her, but she had the transitioning to be a guy now. And I was like, when I heard that story, I was just like, oh, God, I would have married. I honestly, I'm going to broadcast, and hopefully she's listening. I would have married you, Ricky, but I can't now
He's
because
gonna write a song for you.
no, nothing like that, man. No,
Dude, I have to give you I have to give you respect, man, because it's cool to know that you're out there fighting, you're out there willing to at least put in the effort to show people you're not just another person trying to ruin or trying to dumb down someone's art form in a way. You're trying to give it as much credit and as much respect as it deserves. And I appreciate that, even though I'm not a big listener of hip hop and all these types of things, but you got to understand, you got to give respect and credit where credit is due.
oh, appreciate it, man. Yeah, and that's crazy you say that, because with that whole ego and the I guess you can say narcissistic side, yeah, I realized that over time, being in it from 14 to 28, when it comes to new artists that come in or anyone that wants to do hip hop, yeah, people become a bit standoffish because they're like, if I go up and say hi to him, or, you know, if I, you know, say, are you hip hop, he might pull that intimidation out. He's like, yeah, I'm the tough guy kind of thing. And there is some guys I used to know or who I see now that really do that act where someone, you know, they could like drop a 16 bar and then they have the ego, which is just like, never heard of you before, and it's like, you know, like, fuck out of here kind of thing. And they're just like, oh, he's got that hip hop style where it's like, you know, he's standoffish. But and then when they see me, and it's like, I'm, you know, just slapping hands and getting to know everyone, and it doesn't even matter if you're hip hop or not. Like, you know, speaking of the kid with, you know, waitering and Ricky and all this kind of thing, they're just like, I thought you would have this, you know, standoffish tough guy ego. And it's like, nah. It's like, nah, because I don't know, man. I just love getting to know people just straight off the bat, man, and getting to know their stories, man. You know.
I can
Yeah.
relate to that 100%, dude. If you had to
Mm.
give any advice to anybody out there that's trying to do what you're doing, what would you have to say?
Personally, man, to anyone that comes into the game of hip hop, man, there's two roads. One, you can continue this pathway of what they're doing now and ruin it. Like, I'm just gonna say it flat out, you can ruin it a bit more, or you can have your bubble of, you know, today's or whatever you're listening to, but really take a step back for a sec and really learn where it came from, or really um, not just hip hop, really learn where music's come from, like even in our parents' time or whatever the case may be. And that was, I guarantee, that will spark something in your brain to be like knowledge and really showcase a craftsmanship instead of a trendmanship. Um, and yeah, that's what I say, man. Like especially in hip hop, really learn the pioneers and the evolution, the 70s, 80s, 90s to now, and it will
Know
make
your
you more,
history. Know your
yeah,
history.
a knowledgeable MC, man, compared to what it is now. That's all I can say, man. Yeah.
You know what? I appreciate you being on my podcast, man. It was awesome talking to you, dude. And I hope to have you on again soon. And I want to see where your career path goes with this, man. Because
Oh,
I think you definitely got something going. I want to give you here a minute at the end to be able to plug anything that people can find you at so they can see your great content.
yeah, man, 100%. And even if not on the show, man, definitely keep in touch because, you know, I got another fan here in Australia, man. And even with the time difference, send me a message sometime. But um, I want to shout out to Mike, man, for connecting us because, like, what a small world, man. Talking like on the backbone, and then he's like, yeah, like, what a small world connecting us both when we're talking on the backbone without him in it. But shout out to Mike, man, and my number one platform I use is Facebook, man. So if you type in Mugzy, Mugzy, or to you guys, that's Mugzy, I'll pretty much come up, man. And you can see everything I'm doing on there. So Mugzy on Facebook.
Right on, dude. It was good talking to you, man. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Cheers, man. All the best. Later, man.